He awoke beneath a broken sky. The air shimmered with unseen energy, humming low and constant, like the breath of something ancient and enormous. Above him, jagged cracks ran across the heavens, spilling sickly green light into a world already scarred and strange. The sky here wasn't simply dark, it was wounded. He lay still for a moment on the warm, fissured ground, his cloak stained with crimson dust. There were no stars, only drifting shards of land, suspended in the void like forgotten thoughts. Each one pulsed faintly, orbiting unseen anchors, remnants of a world torn apart. His fingers closed around something at his chest, a pendant, cool and whole. The only relic from before the gate, before the choice. He stood, a man alone, a wizard without answers, standing at the edge of everything familiar. His name escaped him, for now, but the magic within stirred like a sleeping animal, aware of the foreign sky, the trembling winds, the weight of something watching. To his right, a tower floated in the distance, wrapped in violet flame. To his left, a field of crystalline trees hummed in eerie harmony. Somewhere behind, the place he had come from no longer existed. He whispered the first word of power he could remember. The wind paused, as if listening. He was not welcome, but he was meant to be here. And so, with nothing but his robes, his will, and the weight of the unseen pressing down, he walked into the heart of the beyond. He did not remember walking this far. The ground beneath his boots had changed, no longer scorched and cracked, but soft with silver ash. Trees without leaves lined a path that hadn't been there before, their branches twisting toward the sky like desperate fingers. Each one whispered as he passed, though no wind moved through them. He knew these whispers. Not the words, never the words, but the rhythm. Like memory echoing across lifetimes, too distant to touch, too loud to forget. The same rhythm he heard in dreams, in silence, in the hum of his own spells. The pendant grew heavy. He touched it again and flinched. It pulsed, not with warmth, not with comfort, but with urgency. As if it, too, remembered. Somewhere ahead, between two dead trees, stood a doorway. Not a real one, not one built by hand, but a gap in space, shimmering faintly with a blue, mournful glow. It rippled as he approached, and he felt the press of old thoughts rising to the surface. Memories. A voice, once trusted. A tower, once home. A mistake, once denied. He paused before the doorway. Whatever lay beyond it was not real in the way the floating towers or bleeding skies were real. This was older, deeper, a place carved by the choices he had tried to forget. And yet, here it waited, patient. He stepped through. Darkness closed in like a breath drawn inward. And with it came the past. The vision did not fade, it unfolded. He stood in the ruins of a library that no longer existed, beneath a ceiling that bled stars. Tomes lay scattered like bones, pages turning without wind, each one written in a language he once spoke fluently, and now barely understood. He remembered this place, not from yesterday, but from a life before this one, before the crossing, before the silence. There had been a choice. He walked between broken shelves and shattered glass orbs that once floated in orbits of logic and light. Here, in this hollow of knowledge and arrogance, he had made a decision that unspooled reality, just a little. Just enough. A figure stood near the center of the ruins, cloaked in shadows, face hidden beneath a hood of woven starlight. It did not move, it did not speak, but the pendant on his chest pulsed harder, in rhythm with the other's breath. He approached. "You've come far," the figure said at last. The voice was neither male nor female, it carried the texture of wind through stone. "But you've not come back." "I don't intend to," he replied. "Then you'll fail again." A silence fell between them, vast and cold. It was not a threat, but a truth. One he had once helped shape. "What is this place?" he asked. "A memory," said the figure. "But not yours alone." The figure raised a hand, and the walls of the library dissolved, not into darkness, but into possibility. He saw 7 paths ahead, each leading through strange and broken parts of the world. Floating aisles, inverted mountains, seas of glass, towers with no doors. And one, a void that seemed to pulse with something alive. "These are the roads forward," the figure said. "But not all roads forgive what lies behind." He looked at them all. Then he stepped toward the one that called, not with promise, but with honesty. The one that whispered, "Begin again." The path he chose did not lead forward, it spiraled inward. He walked for hours, or days. Time had loosened its grip here. The world shifted around him in fragments. A stone stairway dangling in the sky, a hallway of obsidian mirrors reflecting futures he had never lived, a valley where every sound echoed in reverse. It was not a journey through space, but through meaning. Then, at the edge of an unmarked plain, he found it, the ruin. Half sunken into the earth, shaped like a giant hand reaching skyward, 5 towers of broken ivory, fused at the base. The air around it shimmered with ancient wards, so old they were failing, bleeding their essence into the wind. No one had passed here in centuries, perhaps longer, and yet, it opened to him. Inside, light came from no source. Walls breathed softly, as if the structure itself was alive, or dreaming. Glyphs moved across the surfaces, not carved, but grown, flickering through languages older than language. He followed them, downward, through rooms filled with dust that sang, corridors where thoughts echoed before he spoke them, and finally into a vast circular chamber, where the floor rippled like still water. At its center, the heart of the ruin, a sphere, suspended in nothing, turning slowly, its surface carved with impossible symbols, ones he somehow knew. Ones he had once helped seal. It was not an object. It was a mind, not sentient in the way he was, but aware of everything. When he reached out, it responded. Visions struck like lightning, cities fall into silence, stars breaking open like wounds. A voice, not spoken, but remembered, whispering, "You were warned." He staggered back. The sphere pulsed. What had they hidden here, and why had he been able to find it? He had come to seek knowledge. Instead, he had found a memory too large for one soul to carry. And still, something within him whispered, "This is only the beginning." The sphere did not follow him as he left, yet he felt its presence in his blood. Each step beyond the ruin grew heavier, as though the very ground remembered what he had touched, and judged him for it. The path ahead was no longer shifting but solid. A deep, smooth stone road, cracked by time but leading in one unwavering direction, into a place the light refused to touch. It was not night here. It was absence. A canyon opened before him, not carved by erosion, but by force, as if a giant blade had split the land. He descended carefully, the silence around him growing tighter, more watchful. Spells itched beneath his skin. Instinct whispered, "Ready yourself." He wasn't alone. At the bottom of the canyon stood an arch, made of bones too large to be human, too smooth to be natural. Beneath it, a figure, not cloaked, not hiding. It simply stood, waiting. Its body was shaped like a man's, but the proportions were wrong, too tall, too narrow, joints that moved just slightly out of rhythm. Its face was featureless, save for a single glowing slit where eyes should be. The color of lightning before a storm. The wizard raised a hand, ready to summon fire or shield, but the thing did not attack. Instead, it spoke, not in words, but directly into his mind. "You are one of the few who hear," it said, "and fewer still who listen. What are you?" He asked aloud, voice echoing off stone. "I am the reminder." Of what? He meant to say, but the thing had already moved, not with footsteps, but like a ripple through reality itself. It was beside him now, without sound, without warning. It touched his temple with one impossibly long finger, and suddenly, he saw, not with his eyes, but with something deeper. He saw the first portal. He saw the shattering of barriers not meant to be broken. He saw the war not yet fought, but already lost. He saw himself, at the center of it all. Then the vision ended. The being withdrew. "This world remembers," it said, "even if you do not." And then it was gone, as though it had never stood there at all. He stood alone once more, heart racing, the air heavy with knowledge he couldn't yet understand. But one truth rang clear. The unknown had found him, and it was not done speaking. The world shifted as he moved forward, not in shape, but in mood. The air thickened. The color bled from the stones. The silence became heat, pressing against his skin like a warning. He had passed through memory, through ruin, through the whispers of forgotten gods, but now he stood at the threshold of something alive. And angry. The canyon widened into a black valley, encircled by jagged cliffs that rose like shattered teeth. Rivers of molten light flowed through cracks in the earth, but they gave no warmth. This fire was old, the kind that burned not flesh, but truth. At the center of the valley stood a gate, not made of metal or stone, but of flame itself, frozen mid-roar, woven into form by forces no human could fully command. And in front of it, the Guardian, a being of both light and smoke, shifting constantly between substance and shadow. Its body bore no face, only a crown of flame, and wings made of cinders that never fell. When it spoke, its voice emerged from the air, the ground, his own bones. You seek passage. But your soul is fractured. I seek what was lost, the wizard said, stepping forward. Then you must face what remains. The flames of the gate surged, and from them emerged 3 shadows. They were not illusions. They were reflections. The first bore his face in youth, wild, proud, untested. The second held his voice, bitter, commanding, burned by consequence. The third had no face, only eyes full of sorrow, and hands covered in ash. Each one moved toward him, silent, weapons of thought and memory drawn. He had no choice. He did not run. The battle was not of bodies, but of will. The younger self attacked first, arrogant, brilliant, overconfident. He countered it not with force, but with patience, reminding it of consequences. The bitter self fought harder, fueled by regrets, sharper with truths. This one he faced with acceptance. Pain acknowledged becomes powerless. But the third simply wept, and he could not strike it. Instead, he embraced it. The faceless sorrow, the loss unnamed, the grief that drove him into the stars. Only then did it vanish, not defeated, but understood. The flames of the gate flickered. The Guardian spoke once more. You may pass. But know this, what lies ahead cannot be unlearned. I don't seek safety, he whispered. I seek the end of silence. And the gate opened, not outward, but inward. He stepped through, and the shadows followed. The path beyond the gate was a corridor of living obsidian. It twisted without angles, the walls pulsing with silent echoes, not sound, but memory made flesh. Footsteps did not echo here. Time moved oddly, as though waiting for him to decide who he truly was before allowing him to proceed. He wasn't sure how long he walked before he found her, or perhaps she found him. A figure emerged from the dark, cloaked, hooded, walking upright like a human, though something in her presence unsettled the senses. Her voice came first, low and careful. You should not be here. Not yet. He didn't stop walking. Neither should you. She smiled. He couldn't see it, but he felt it. Then we are both lost. Or both chosen. They moved together without speaking, deeper into the strange vein of black crystal and whispering air. Something in her gait was familiar, not her face, but her magic. It resonated near his, like twin notes of an old song once forgotten. Who are you? He asked. She paused before answering. Once, I was like you. Before the fire, before I chose knowledge over peace. A moment passed. I was called Cerulean. He knew that name, not from his own memories, but from the sphere. From the ancient voices that echoed through the ruins. She had walked this path before him. What did you find? He asked. She turned toward him. Her hood fell back. Her face was half burned, not by flame, but by truth. One eye glowed with arcane energy, pulsing with the same frequency as the sphere he had touched. I found the question, she said, and the lie that answered it. Before he could speak, the corridor shook, not violently, but with intention. The walls parted like curtains, revealing a new space, a chamber of light suspended in the void. In the center, a relic. It hovered, ancient and pulsing. A crown of woven sigils, forged not to rule, but to contain. It called to them both. He stepped forward. So did she. Then her hand went to her belt, a blade of ethereal metal forming from nothing, drawn not with hate, but regret. I'm sorry, she whispered, but only one of us can carry it. He didn't want to raise his hand, but the moment she moved, the chamber answered. Magic surged, not like a weapon, but like a storm remembering its shape. The relic between them spun wildly, casting fragmented shadows of worlds long buried. The space vibrated with layered truths, all screaming to be spoken. Cerulean struck first. A lance of mirrored light tore through the silence, twisting mid-flight as if guided by memory. He deflected it by instinct, a gesture of containment, not retaliation. But she was relentless, and her magic was not just powerful, it was personal. Woven from loss, shaped by sacrifice. Why? he shouted, stepping back, redirecting her arcane chain into the void. Her answer was quiet, almost broken. Because I remember what happens if you take it. She cast again, a prison of glass formed thought, collapsing inward. He shattered it midair with a wave of heat laced in runes of unbinding. The relic pulsed violently, threads of energy reaching toward both of them. It knew this was the moment it had been waiting for. This wasn't just about power. This was about responsibility. The chamber cracked at the edges. The world around them, the beyond itself, began to twist, responding to the weight of will. Time slowed. Space warped. He gathered his strength. Not the raw fire or ice of lesser spells, but something deeper. The stillness before creation, the memory of silence before the first word. He spoke that word now, and the chamber stopped. Everything, even Cerulean, froze for a breath. The relic dimmed. He walked toward her, carefully, without threat. I'm not the man who failed, he said, but I carry his shadow. Let me finish what he could not. Her blade trembled. Magic flickered from her hands, faltered, and finally, she let go. The weapon dissipated. The relic pulsed once more, slowly, accepting. He reached out, and this time, it did not resist. The moment his fingers touched it, the crown unfolded, not into metal, but into vision. A map of the beyond, its history, its fractures, and the origin of its slow undoing. He saw the source, and he understood. Not power, not control, but repair. As the chamber sealed itself once more, Cerulean sank to her knees. I tried to do it alone, she whispered. That was my mistake. He helped her rise. No one repairs the world alone. He stood at the center of the sky. Below him stretched what remained of the beyond, broken, beautiful, vast. Floating islands like forgotten thoughts. Seas suspended mid-collapse. Light moving backward in some corners, forward in others. The relic pulsed in his hand. Not a weapon now, not a crown, but a seed. It would not fix the world, but it would begin something. Behind him, Cerulean watched silently. Her presence no longer sharp with conflict, but soft with acceptance. They had not spoken since the chamber. There was nothing more to argue, nothing more to prove. The world no longer needed kings or gods, only witnesses. He raised the relic above the last anchor stone, where once the ancient gate stood. Magic spread slowly, not in light, but in memory. It drifted like dust through the cracks in the world, weaving not restoration, but connection. Not rebuilding the old, but planting space for the new. As the energy moved, he felt it drawing from him. Not draining, blending. His thoughts, his griefs, his hopes, all of it bled into the seed of the world. Not to be remembered, but to be woven into silence. This was the cost. The beyond would live, but it would no longer need him. He looked to Cerulean. She understood before he spoke. Will they remember us? She asked. He smiled, gently. No, but they'll walk on steadier ground. The wind rose, soft and wide, carrying with it a hum that felt older than time. One by one, the broken towers in the distance began to hum back, not in resonance, but in harmony. A new shape forming, slowly, patiently. He let go. The relic dissolved into the air, into the fabric of what would come next. And then, for the first time since he had crossed into this broken place, he closed his eyes. And there was peace.